Hi, everyone. David Aragona and Mike Beer here taking a look at the future race at Fairgrounds this Saturday. It is the Gun Runner Stakes, one of those early Derby preps for the 3-year-olds leading up to the final Derby prep at Fairgrounds, the Louisiana Derby in March. These 2-year-olds will soon be turning 3 in 2026. And we'll see if any of them can get onto that Kentucky Derby trail early next season. And before we get into the handicapping for this race, I do want to mention that Morning Line will be coming back on as a sponsor for some of our videos. You might remember Morning Line sponsored with us for Breeders' Cup week, and appropriate to mention them for this particular video because Morning Line is part of the ownership group of 2 horses in this Gun Runner Stakes, both Keswick Peak tradies, the number 3 Liberty National, as well as the number 7 Very Connected. So we'll get into them to see if Mike and I think they have a chance in this Gun Runner to take a look at the field for this race. And Mike, we talked about the 2-year-old filly race, the Untappable maybe not being one that came up that strong. Not so for the Gun Runner. This is a pretty intriguing group of 2-year-old males, and I don't know if some of the horses that have Derby profiles are going to win this particular race, but I won't be surprised when 1 or 2 of these are still being talked about as Derby contenders early next season.
Yeah, agree wholeheartedly. This seems like a really nice field they've put together here. I think there's some real talent in here. I don't know that all of them are going to necessarily be, make the round of the Derby trail, but some of them feel like they definitely have a shot to do that. This is a really interesting race with horses to follow, no matter what happens on Saturday.
Mike, I know we were chatting a little bit before we started recording and not really taking a stand with the Morning Line here. As you can see, it's pretty well grouped. We got 5 horses, I think, between 7-2 and 5-1. Well, 6 between 7-2 and 6-1 if you throw in the number 8 as well. I'm not exactly sure who's going to go favorite in here, but we'll see how this one ultimately gets bet. Let's take a look at the Timeform US pace projector for this Gun Runner. And Mike, I think one of the major handicapping factors in this race is that a lot of the horses in here have not shown a whole lot of early speed in their prior starts, and I would imagine that the 3 horses that are shown relatively forward in this race are going to be the 3 that end up vying for early supremacy, particularly the 2 that are shown out in front, the number 2 Chip Honcho and the number 5 Crown the Buckeye. Both of them have shown a lot of speed in one-turn races, so it's going to be interesting to see how much their jockeys can ration out their speed going this 2-turn distance.
Exactly. Yeah, Chip Honcho really was more clued in last time, showed pretty good speed in the 1-turn mile. And took that field all the way. So maybe let us go right back to front running tactics with him. Crown the Buckeye came from off the pace when they stretched him out around 2 turns last time, but he was such a short price in that field, David. They could have ridden him however they wanted, and he was going to beat that field.
Let's go through this field from the rail out, beginning with the number 1 Mesquite horse, who probably won't be vying for the early lead in here because they have been trying to get him back to last in both of his 2 races so far. He actually broke okay on debut, but you could see Jose Ortiz just kind of wanted to give him an education that day because he pulled back on the reins, took him right back to last in that 12-horse field. Actually did a little bit of running to pass half the field in that sprint debut, but clearly needed that race, and he did benefit from that experience second time out, Mike, because he took a big step forward to win going 2 turns, the mile and a 16th distance that he'll tackle again here. And he won despite racing very greenly. I mean, he was climbing in the early stages, had to make this wide move around the far turn. He was lugging it even when he was striking the lead in the stretch, but still was able to get the job done. This horse is a work in progress, but there's obviously talent here.
This horse can run. There's no doubt about it. Listen, you go back, that's my favorite kind of debut for a horse who doesn't win. They knew he wasn't a sprinter, David. It didn't even look like they were trying to win that race. They were just trying to give this horse a little bit of an education there. And I think they got exactly what they wanted out of it. Even with some early trouble last time, a wide move on the turn, he was really running through the stretch. The figure regressed. Make no mistake about it. He really improved in his second career start. And we'll see. Maybe he doesn't have any speed, but I don't think I would judge him too hard based on those first 2 starts. He's got the rail here. They were not trying to be involved early the first 2 times. They might be trying to get forward this time from the rail.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if they ever allow this horse to do a little more running in the early stages, because it seems like he might have the option to if they decide to use those tactics. They just haven't so far. The number 2 Chip Honcho, he does have plenty of early speed. He didn't break that well and had to take a few strides to get up to full speed on debut, going the 7 furlong distance, and was just second best that day. But he was really way more dialed in going the 1-turn mile last time, where he broke more alertly and just kind of ran off on the front end and set some pretty enterprising fractions open opening up around the far turn. He took a challenge from a long shot stablemate and upper stretch, but he battled back pretty gamely to the wire to hold on. And Mike, a move you don't often see are connections putting blinkers on with a horse coming off a win. I believe you have to get permission from the stewards to make that move. Steve Asmussen, I was looking up stats for him, with all of his starters, he's only ever done it 3 times in the past 5 years. So kind of interesting that this horse is putting blinkers on for this race, and kind of a curious move given how aggressive he was last time, that now he's going to be showing maybe the same early speed with blinkers on.
Yeah, I did like the improvement he showed last time from start 1 to start 2, if only because he went pretty fast on the lead. I mean, you can see it. It's a race that was sort of fast early and slow late, and this horse sort of did all the running on the front end, and they're not really backing it down. To me, when you watch him run, the blinkers are going on only for one reason. They're not going on to give this horse speed. When you watch that last race, this horse he needs them to focus. He made the lead easily last time. As soon as they passed the gap coming out of the chute there, he just almost stopped running for a few strides. He didn't know what to do. He lost focus. Then he got it back again. He took off up the back stretch, and then even in the stretch, he was drifting out pretty badly. But that might just be because he was getting tired at the end. I think the blinkers are on to focus this horse. And listen, I think he's going to go to the lead again. I think he's pretty dangerous.
We've seen Steve Asmussen use these early season races at the fairgrounds to run some pretty nice horses through them, developing throughout the winter. We'll see if that's the case for Chip Honcho. The number 3, Liberty National, another horse who showed some talent, winning his maiden race at Churchill Downs in the second start of his career. Another one that probably needed his debut. He actually debuted in the same race as Chip Honcho at Keeneland, got an educational experience that day, really benefited from that in his second start, going the 2-turn distance. And Mike, you had to like the turn of foot that this horse displayed coming off the far turn. He got a perfect trip up until that point, but the way that he was able to put away those rivals in the final furlong, I mean, it speaks to a horse that really did improve with the added distance, and now we'll see if he can handle a step up in company.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, he has the pedigree that suggested that he was going to be better going longer, and when they stretched him out for his second start, he was better going longer. I'm with you. He got a perfect trip in that race, but he always traveled in that race. He always looked like he was going to run, and he did come running off the turn in that race. He went right by those horses and finished it off. I was really impressed with his maiden win last time, David, and I'm not surprised McPeak steps him right up.
The number 4, Quality Mischief, is the first of 3 Brad Cox horses that we're going to talk about at this race, but it's not like Brad Cox has any of the expected favorites in this spot. They're all horses that are probably going to be decent prices. Quality Mischief in particular, because he's just never run a particularly fast race. He broke his maiden last time out, getting on the dirt for the first time in an off-the-turf race at Horseshoe Indy, and took him a long time to get up into top gear to ultimately wear down the second-place finisher, who I think even fooled the race announcer. Looked like he was going to win until the very late stages. But Mike, this horse is going to have to run a lot faster to be competitive against this group.
Yeah, I don't know how he won that race last time. I'm not sure if it was a mirage and the horse on the lead was stopping, or if this horse just really kicked it in, like in the final, I don't know, 16th of a mile. I don't know what happened, but he did come running late. But I'll make him do it again against this field.
The number 5, Crown the Buckeye, one of the more intriguing horses in this race, because you can see that this horse has a lot of talent when you watch his replays, especially his last 2 victories. But all of them have come against Ohio breds, 2 back at Thistledown and last time out at Mahoning Valley. We'll take a look at the most recent of those stakes victories when they did stretch him out around 2 turns. So he handled this mile in the 16th distance, but like I said, just did it against Ohio bred. So he's got to prove that he can get this distance against some tougher companies. He steps up out into open company here. But Mike, this horse has run fast races in both of these stakes victories, and it looked like he finished pretty well going the distance last time. It's just a matter of whether or not he can do it if this pace gets a little bit more competitive.
Yeah, exactly. And it feels like, obviously, it feels like he's facing some much better horses here too. Although I guess that you could say that still remains to be seen. I don't know. I'm not worried. I like that. I like how he stretched out last time. I'll just put it that way. I know he was a really short price, and as I was sort of mentioned in the opening, they could have ridden him however they wanted last time.
Yeah,
that's almost exactly what Loveberry did. He didn't even try to save any ground. He let this horse sit, I don't know, 5 wide on the first turn instead of going for position. He was wide all the way up the back. He didn't care. He knew that this horse was going to win that race, and he did. It's going to be harder for him to beat this field, and I'm just not sure he's going to be like some kind of super interesting price. But I guess that remains to be seen.
It's a good point about the running style last time. They really did use that race as an educational opportunity, and it probably will benefit him moving into this race. We'll see if he's good enough. The number 6, Arabia Wild, another one of those Brad Cox trainees. He broke his maiden at Fairgrounds last time after getting a couple of trial runs at Horseshoe Indy, where he was second in both of those races. And he got the job done in the last race, Mike, putting blinkers on for the first time. He's still a horse that looks like he's a little green or not totally focused when he's running. He drifts in the stretch of his races. He did that last time out. Don't really love the field that he was beating there, and I think he's gonna have to really step it up against this group.
Yeah, that was my concern too. I think he did take a step forward last time. I don't know if he improved enough to get me interested, especially against a field that came up as strong as this one seems like it did. His pedigree says he'll get better with time and distance. I'll give him a little bit more time.
We're talking about a lot of horses that are moving up in class into this stakes race. I guess you could argue the one horse that's stepping down in class is the number 7, Very Connected, who's coming out of a couple of graded stakes tries where he didn't even run that badly, finishing 3rd in the Street Sense and then 4th last time in the Kentucky Jockey Club behind the likes of Incredibolt, Further Ado, both horses that I think are going to attract some real interest as we move into next year and the Kentucky Derby Trail. Watching the last 2 races, Mike, it didn't really feel like Very Connected was ever going to threaten the winners of those races. He was just kind of picking up pieces in races that were maybe falling apart a little bit at the end. That was especially the case in the Jockey Club last time, but he's been improving his buyer speed figures in just about every start, so won't be surprised when he continues that trajectory here.
Yeah, I guess that's all true. I will. It'll be interesting to see if this race sets up for him. I mean, it's pretty clear just from watching any of his races so far, he doesn't have any speed. So he'll be well back off the pace. And listen to me in both of his last races. I'm with you. He was never a real threat either time, even though he was making up late ground. And both of those races, totally, in my opinion, totally fell apart late. Even the Street Sense too bad. The fractions don't look that fast. That race the pace was competitive. It totally fell apart, and the winner came last to first to win it. And this horse just, he picked up 3rd, but he never looked like he was going to win.
Rounding out this field on the outside is the 3rd of that Brad Cox trio, the number 8, Mr. Punch. He is a horse that they tried on turf first time out, and I kind of understand why when you look at his pedigree. He's a half-brother to United, who was a near $2 million earner on the turf. I think won 7 graded stakes on that surface. But overall, Mike, this pedigree really is more dirt. He's also a half to a horse named Harlan Punch, who I'm sure you remember racing in New York in different circuits years ago. Was a really hard-trying horse. He was good for a long time, a dirt router. So maybe not a big surprise that Mr. Punch was able to really improve when he got into a dirt route last time. Now, maybe it's a minor negative that he was risked for a maiden claiming tag. It was a $100,000 maiden claimer, so it's not like they really expected to lose him in that race, but you had to appreciate the step forward that this horse took, Mike, and the fight that he put on display when he was challenged at the quarter pole.
Agreed. I just liked everything. I liked everything about his last race. As you pointed, he did take on a really strong challenge as that field came into the stretch. And not only did he fight that horse off, he easily fought that horse off and went clear at the end. But I just really appreciated, David, how he put himself right into position early in that race. He made a strong 3-wide move on the first turn to get right up into the position that he wanted to be in. And he just sat there the entire way. And then he ran again through the stretch when he had to, when a horse came to him. I really liked this horse's win last time. And I think he's really interesting moving up in class.
Yeah, I agree. He just traveled really strongly in that race, and I like the outside post for a horse like that because he might not be the quickest that first step out of the gate, but from the outside, he's going to have that opportunity to slot into that stalking position, probably in 3rd, heading into that first turn where he wants to be. Before we get to our picks, want to just remind everybody that Morning Line coming on as a sponsor for this video. Morning Line is a private SEC-regulated marketplace where approved participants can trade licensed interest in elite racehorses. You can check out more about Morning Line at morningline.io, and they've got those 2 owned horses that they're part of the ownership group of in this race. We'll see if Mike or I like any one of those as we throw up our picks for this race. And Mike, I think we both have the number 3 Liberty National in there. We actually have the exact same superfecta of that race, so I think you know which horses to throw out. But Liberty National, I think he'll be one of the favorites in here. I'm a little more intrigued by the 2 horses that we each have as our top 2 picks, and I really could have gone in either order. I put Mr. Punch on top because I just think he's going to get a better trip having that tactical speed.
I like that about him too. And I just felt like he'd probably be the better price as well. And that's why I put him on top. I have no problem with Liberty National. I thought long and hard about him. I think he can win this race. To me, Mesquite, the number 1, he's the horse that I want going forward out of this race. But Mr. Punch is the horse I want to bet on Saturday.
I was going to say the same thing. Mesquite is a horse that I'm looking forward to seeing how he develops through the winter. We'll see if he's able to win this race. Mr. Punch, he's probably going to get a good trip and seems like a horse that could improve off that maiden victory. 8-1-3-2 for both Mike and me in the Gun Runner Race 11 at Fairgrounds this Saturday. Good luck if you're playing the races this weekend.